Hi everyone, welcome to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us for the 3 o'clock lifestyle show here at GoLocal. I'd like to welcome my first guest in, Chris Daltrey. Nice to have you back.
Thank you, Kate.
It's good to have you here. It is warming up outside. It's going to be in the 80s tomorrow. All eyes are on the weekend. Cinco de Mayo falls on a Saturday, and so does Taco Fest PVD.
That's right. Yeah, I think we've done this for a number of years, and it doesn't always fall on the date, but it's also doesn't wind up being sunny every time, so that's what we're hoping for.
So it starts at 11 o'clock in the morning, and tell folks again, it's only Tuesday, but people are starting to make plans for the weekend at Grant's Block.
Yep.
Free open to the public, lots of vendors, what to expect?
Well, the event is from 11 to 6, and its focus is tacos, hence the name. So there are, I believe, 10 different food vendors, some food trucks, some are setting up in Grant's Block with bars and tacos and food. And then adjacent to Grant's Block is a big parking lot where I've booked a bunch of vendors who are selling records, vintage, and handmade stuff. So,
rock and roll yard sale.
The Providence Rock and Roll Yard Sale.
So you've got food, you've got drink, you've got things you can purchase. I mean, this is a block party.
Yeah, and this one every year is special because it's the first outdoor event in Providence. You know, somebody might beat us to it in the future, but if the weather's good, people come out and it's a celebration because it's warm finally, it's sunny, it's Cinco de Mayo. So,
Now, is this family friendly?
yes, absolutely. Okay. Most of the street is dedicated to activities for kids. I believe there's like chalk they can draw on the sidewalk or the street. There's I believe a florist coming that you can have like a crown made for
a little crown of flowers.
And more. I don't organize the kids' activities, but there's a bunch of stuff for them to do. There's food for adults and kids, and then a lot of our vendors also have stuff for kids like shirts and onesies, and people that make handmade stuff often include kids in their wares.
So I got to put you on the spot because I had to ask Rich Pizzillo when he came in yesterday about the upcoming Bloody Mary competition, what you liked for Bloody Marys. What makes a good taco?
Well, I mean, the people.
Gotta bring it over here a little closer.
The people that are, it's a range of taco trucks coming, so they all have their different, specialties. But growing up, I grew up in South Carolina and Virginia, and nowadays there's a lot of ethnic diversity there, but then the only taco we had was like Taco Bell. And moving up here, and if you go out Atwell's to some of the, or even Central Falls, there are these crazy authentic taco places. So they don't look like what you might have grown up with.
You've come into taco nirvana here.
Yeah, so slow roasted like meats and not your typical ground beef is a good sign. If you see like a radish or something, something different.
Kick it up a little bit.
Yeah, spice, and a lot of them do stuff for vegetarians and vegans too. So it's a new world for tacos.
Options for everyone.
Yep.
We'll have links to the Taco Fest going on. Let's talk a little bit about the rock and roll yard sale, because I mean, music is really sort of your forte.
Yeah, it's something that my wife and I started about 15 years ago, and we started it. We had been going down to New York to sell at the largest record fair in the U.S. It's the WFMU record fair. It has maybe 200 or 300 vendors just selling records. And they used to do it twice a year, and we started to count on both of them for income, and they decided to go down to one. And we got to thinking on our ride home, why don't we do something like this in Providence? And this is before, you know, all the, you know, like Providence Flea, which is great, but it's before any of these events were happening in Providence. So it gave people a venue to, you know, that if they didn't have a storefront, or if they do, it allows them to get some exposure. But it also became like a magnet for people that sell different things besides records. So vintage clothing sellers, people that sell vintage housewares. But the big change for it was opening it up to people that do handmade stuff. And you know, they take it very seriously. It's often how they make a living. So having a mix of these things allows for shopping for, you know, if you went to like just a record show with your girlfriend or your wife, they might be bored.
Offers a little bit more than just music.
Yeah, so there's plenty of different stuff, and it's not just records. You know, people sell CDs and tapes and posters and memorabilia as well.
So when you go to these as a music aficionado that you are, and you know the vendors and you know the folks, are you just going through and looking for sort of that diamond in the rough, or are you like looking for something specific? Like, do you have this album? So what is your mindset when you go into the yard sale? Is it just, let me see what sort of gem I can find?
I like that, because I've done this for so long that there isn't much that at least I know that I'm looking for. So I like the surprise. But often, like, vinyl has been in a, you know, resurgence for some time now, and new people are getting into it, and they don't have every record by every artist like I might, or somebody else. So they're looking for a specific record or CD, whereas I like kind of wandering.
What do you think is behind the kind of lasting power of vinyl and the reemergence of vinyl, sort of in this era of digital music? Why has vinyl stood the test of time?
I mean, I think it's because it is a lasting thing. I mean, it's hard to explain why the resurgence has happened where younger people are getting into it, except maybe their parents have dragged out their old turntable and they've become interested and fascinated by it. It is a fascinating medium. I mean, you should have a turntable with these old...
We should add it to the old media over here. But yeah, vinyl is just still popular.
I mean, it's an experience. And even like a cassette or a CD is an experience too. But it's something that you can't get with streaming music or iTunes. You can touch it, you can feel it, and it's hard to throw away something. So, you know, like a record is a beautiful thing. So, you know, that's why
vinyl can persist. And what about liner notes? Digital music, there's no liner notes. Talk with me about the importance of liner notes.
Well, it's like when I grew up, like in the 80s, I was buying records, and I would buy one by a record by a band I liked, and by reading the liner notes, I started to discover other people, other artists, like, you know, this was produced by so-and-so, and then you go buy their record. So it's important. And yeah, you don't get that. You know, you can Shazam something playing on, you know, streaming or whatever, but you don't learn about who made it, where it was made. So it is important.
Well, we're glad that we're able to provide some live music here in the Alex and Ani Lounge. I want to be talking to you about that in a little bit. But I want to talk with you sort of about the last year, Chris, because it was about this time last year that we had you in when What Shear said, buy to Thayer Street. Yes. So just bring folks up to speed. What's the year been like for you after you made that decision to exit there but still stay, you know, completely in the music arena?
Yeah, it's been, you know, realizing it has come up on a year. I mean, retail is special, the relationship you have with people that come in, your customers. But the overhead and the headaches can be a little much sometimes. So we work, my wife and I work at home with our cats, and we like it. It's hard to say if if the income is enough, but it's nice, and it's something we've been doing all along. But it feels there's something missing in not being there for the next crowd of RISD and Brown students every year, and we definitely miss it, but it's definitely easier.
Well, maybe we can get some of those RISD and Brown students down to the Taco Fest.
That would be great.
To the rock and roll yard sale on Saturday. Find out, the people who've been around. I mean, we talked a little bit about this. Do you head up to Thayer Street? Do you see the changes that have continued, or is it even just sort of tough to go back?
We do. In fact, I'm heading over there to pick something up after I meet with you. But it's just the change has been ongoing for so long, and it's definitely why we left the street. We could have found another space, we could have worked on it, but it's just heading in a direction that doesn't include independent, small, locally owned businesses like ours. It's headed towards corporate places like Shake Shack, which is moving in. It's not going to be the experience it was for people that grew up in Providence in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But there's still a few great shops there and restaurants, so the students have stuff to do. It's just
not quite the same. So how important then, talk about the yard sale, is it to sort of, maybe fill that void, to have that day, that sort of putting the band back together, everyone comes out?
Well, we do it twice a year, every spring for Cinco de Mayo, and then in the late summer or early fall in Somerville in the Boston area. And that does fill the void to some degree. People come by and they hadn't seen us in a while, or even a year, but it's good. As long as the weather's good, because they're both outdoor events.
Speaking of things being good, I believe I checked out the Taco Fest's Facebook page. I believe it said 1.4 thousand people said they're going.
Yeah. So I think the interest this year is stronger than it's ever been. Our partner is in Down City, Providence, who they have done everything they can with marketing, and essentially this event started as something for their tenants, to sort of bring people downtown to Westminster to sort of entertain residential tenants, but also the commercial tenants, to give them a boost. And every year, I don't know if you've been, but you really can barely get
bigger
down the street.
So do you advise folks to just take a deep breath? It's Saturday, it's Cinco de Mayo, make a plan for parking and transportation.
Yep.
Maybe anticipate a few lines, but if you're going to have a cocktail chew responsibly.
Of course. And it's every year the event has grown, and we've added more and more food and drink vendors. So hopefully the lines will be long, but if you don't want to wait in line, come down early. It's 11 to 6, but if you come down at 3 o'clock and it's sunny, you're going to wait a while to get a burrito or a taco.
So be prepared to just chillax.
Yep.
It is Cinco de Mayo.
Yep.
There's plenty of people around to have a good time with and check out the yard sale. So we'll provide those links as well. Again, I know it's Tuesday, but the sun's coming out. You can feel the spring fever.
You want the weekend now?
You can feel it creeping in after the last month that we have. But Chris Daltrey, I appreciate your taking the time to come back
Absolutely.
in. Taco Fest, rock and roll yard sale starting at 11 at Grants Block here downtown. We'll provide those links, and we look forward to talking with you soon.
Great.
Okay, Chris Daltrey, thanks so much.
Bye.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with our next guest here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us on this sunny Tuesday afternoon in downtown Providence. Just had Chris Daltrey in talking about this weekend's Taco Fest. And we've got another event taking place this week amongst many in Providence. This is the Bloom event for Youth in Action. Peggy Romanian, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
The Executive Director of the After School Program for high school youth on the south side of Providence. Talk with us a little bit. Let's just start with Youth in Action. You've been the Executive Director for 4 years. Yep. If folks don't know, talk with us about the program.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me here again. This is amazing. I'm new to Providence, 4 years in, but that feels new. And so this feels like I'm really here. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. Youth in Action has been around for 20 years, and that's quite a bit of time, older than most of our youth, all of our youth actually. And in that 20 years, I think at the heart of what we do has always remained the same, which is young people at the forefront of change. And so we still believe that that's the case. Over the last 4 years, we've done a lot of strategic planning and really taken a look inside and thought about who is it we want to put out into the world. And so as part of that, we've really defined who we serve, and that's so important to who we are. And so who we serve are young people in what we call frontline communities. And frontline communities we define as young people or communities that are carrying a disproportionate share of economic, environmental, and social burdens. And they're told that they're carrying these burdens because there's something inherently inadequate about them. And so that brings us to the what we do. And the what we do is that we say, what if it's not you? What if it's the systems around us and the institutions around us? And if we start to change that, can we change the experience? So we unpack and we undo this internalization that happens for our young people. And I think for all of us, right? And how we do that, the mechanics of it, is that we have 3 program areas. So core, immersion, and collective. In core, we ask, who are you? We talk about identity, social location, how to locate oneself in society. In immersion, we start to actually address institutional oppression by having our young people partner with different community orgs and institutions. So that includes Sojourner House, Rhode Island College, City of Providence's Healthy Communities Office. We're really lucky to have some great partnerships. And then the collective, and this is where our young people actually step into mentorship roles. And so they help internally run some of these programs, but these are also the kids that you see at conferences and student walkouts, really being at the forefront of things.
And how many, I know it must vary, but I mean, how many youth are we talking about that Youth in Action is serving right now?
So currently, we're serving between 150 to 200 kids weekly, which is insane, because there's only 3 of us. So it's pretty hectic, but it's a lot of fun.
Speaking of fun, that's why I have you in, because you're having a party this week for Youth in Action. So talk with us a little bit about Bloom at the Hotel Providence.
Yeah, so Bloom is our annual event. It's in the past been a really big fundraiser for us. We're shifting a little bit to just be a party where we celebrate. We want to celebrate all the work that we've been doing and celebrate our young people and celebrate youth voice in Providence and the value that we put on that. And we want more friends. We want people to know who Youth in Action is. We want people to join us in this work. And so Bloom is an opportunity for you to come on out and hang out with us, meet some of our young people, have some drinks. I'm glad you mentioned the 80-degree weather, because Hotel Providence has this patio. And
big, beautiful patio.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, you should have a great night Thursday.
Yeah, so drinks, food, music, young people, good conversation, beautiful weather. We're hoping for a good turnout.
Excellent. Starts at 6 o'clock.
Starts at 6 o'clock, goes to 8 o'clock.
Tickets?
$20.
$20. We'll have links to that. So if you want to come learn more, learn right from the youth. How many youth do you expect to be turning out on Thursday?
We're going to have between probably 10 and 15 youth there.
Very good. Talk about their experiences, as you said, partnering with community organizations. And Bloom is Thursday, but you've got Youth in Action have something else big coming up in May as well.
We do, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. So we like to be out in the community as much as possible and give our young people the opportunity to talk and find their voice and feel out who they are in that kind of capacity. And so one of our events, and this happens every year as well, is a mapping exhibit. So it's a participatory mapping exhibit on community and activism and the danger of a single story. And so we'll be looking at both the story of Providence, the corridor of Broad Street from Empire downtown to all the way to Patuxent Village. We go all along the corridor, and then the south side of Providence where we're located.
So what does a mapping exhibit literally look like?
It's geeky, I think. but I like it. So it's maps, but it's maps both like metaphorically speaking, and maps literally showing us, okay, this is point A and this is point B. And I think what's cool about maps is that there's no predetermined beginning of a map. You get to start wherever your eyes land, and you get to end wherever your eyes land. And I think that's what's so cool about it. And I say to our young people all the time when we start the mapping work, we tell them all the time, you got to know your goal, you got to know where you want to go. But if you don't know where you're starting, the inroads to that destination become a little foggy. So that's why it all starts with, who are you?
So as you said, a mapping exercise, where will one see this?
Yeah, so we want you to add to our maps as well, and you can do that on May 20th from 4 to 6 at it's the Brown University Square Center Community Collaborative Space, which just moved to Eddy Street, so 339 Eddy Street, and that'll be on the 20th of May.
Oh, fantastic. So this mapping exhibit, and then you've been at the helm for 4 years.
Right.
You know, what does the future hold for Youth in Action? I mean, as you said, 3 staffers for over
150
youth?
Yeah.
You must always need support.
Yeah, I think that what's really unique and wonderful about our community is that it's large, which is why events like Bloom and our mapping are so important, because it brings folks in and it makes it visible, the kind of work that's happening. Yeah, it's been 4 years, though it depends on the day or the moment. So like sometimes it feels like it's been 4 seconds, and sometimes it feels like it's been 4 minutes, and sometimes it feels like 40 years. So it's all relative to what's happening. And I was lucky enough to take on the work from one of my peers, Adiola Oradola, who does amazing work still in the city. And so, and before that, Karen Feldman. So we've had this incredible lineage of directors, and I've kind of taken that work and tried to take it to the next level as best as I can. And so we've grown exponentially, and as we look forward, I think there's some great things on the horizon for us. We're doing language justice work for the English language learner population in Providence, which is growing exponentially. We are in schools, so we had a partnership with the Highlander Institute this year in Providence Public Schools. And so we were at Central School this year at 360 doing really interesting work. And this was funded by Nellie Mae, and really thinking about social emotional learning in the classroom and blended learning. And so in the classroom during the day, running our curriculum, that's really cool. And then the third piece that we're looking towards is, so not only in-school programming, not language justice work, kind of expanding our curriculum and our reach, but also our young people design and facilitate trainings and workshops around diversity and inclusion and ideas of power. And so we run those workshops and trainings across the state, but also regionally in New England.
Okay, so outside of Providence,
yeah,
branch out. It's just not downtown.
No.
Talk with us a little bit of folks. You know, we probably have some watchers that have school-age kids, but you know, for folks who might not know kids here in the city, you know, what's the state of the youth right now? And it's probably hard to put a blanket, but you know, what are their hopes? You know, what are their concerns? I mean, what's it like to be a high school kid in 2018? From what you gather, working with them on a daily basis.
Yeah. So I think that this is a loaded question, Kate. But I think that you have to ask, which young person are we talking about? And so when I talk about the young people that we serve and that we work alongside, I think that experience looks a little bit different than maybe another high school student, right? And so the issues that I think our young people are really passionate about and thoughtful and wanting to put a lot of energy into have to do with student-centered learning, have to do with ethnic studies, have to do with having educators of color, have to do with standardized testing, have to do, right? Like I think there's so many issues and I think they all intersect in different places, both on a population level and then on the individual level. So that's a kind of a roundabout way.
I know it's probably it's not. I'm sure, as you said, every youth is unique, and it's hard to encapsulate. But it's just it's a tumultuous world that we live in right now.
I think right now, if you ask them, their priority is summer. So I think that's the biggest fight right now, is to make it another few weeks.
Looking to make it through the school year to the summer, but again, giving them the skills and organizational skills and leadership skills to take it to the next step. Because you go on Youth in Action's website. you see the kids getting scholarships and sort of
Yeah.
moving to the next step. I mean, I'm sure there's so many success stories
Yeah.
of students who have gone through it, but just being able to serve as many as you can. And the Bloom Party on Thursday,
Yeah.
if you want to learn more about Youth in Action, be sure to turn out. We'll have more links to that as well. Anything else you want to share with folks while we have you in studio?
No, I just really appreciate the time, and as much as we can get Youth in Action out there, I think we can make a different kind of world for our young people and for ourselves.
Well, I appreciate your taking the time to come in and tell folks a little bit more. We appreciate your watching. We'll be back at 4 o'clock with news and politics, but Peggy Romanian, thank you so much for taking your time. We'll be back at 4. Thank you for tuning in to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.